What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts from the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad the side. Also, fun fact, he's one of the 11 Lords of Leaping from that song 12 Days of Christmas, so that's something he does in his side spare time there when he's not teaching and not doing the podcast.
I'm also the partridge in the pear tree. Fun fact as well.
Oh, wow, twofer in that same song. That's
exactly,
crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But Tad, obviously, it's a holiday time. That's why we got these terrible holiday jokes in here. But that's what it is here. And obviously, we talked about it. It's the holiday time right now. So yeah, this is our final episode of 2023, most likely, because next week you'll be traveling home. You'll be traveling home to visit your family, spend time with them during the holidays. I will be at that Niners and Ravens game on Christmas.
Are you really?
Night. Yes.
How much did those tickets go for?
Well,
high, medium, or low? Just we'll say that.
Well, thankfully for me, they were free because I got them from my manager who has season tickets. So
That's a get. That's a get.
I've had these in September. So it's like, I've been stoked. I was like hoping for, once again, very similar to when I went to the Philadelphia game. I was just like, I want both teams to be competitive. I want it to be a good game. In the Eagles game, obviously it was a blowout in favor of my Niners, which I was happy for, but I'm just hoping for the same thing with this Ravens game. Both teams still vying for that number 1 seed. I'm just hoping for a very good game, but yeah, it should be a ton of fun. So that's where I will be on Christmas. But yeah, most likely you won't get any episodes from us that week, but you see the ticker down below. We'll definitely have you covered with some graphics because a lot of you, hopefully, if you've been watching our videos and listening to our podcast, you should be in the fantasy playoff title game for your respective leagues, thanks to our advice, hopefully. So, I mean, guys, if you've been interacting with us, if you've been following along on our podcast and the videos and looking for all the graphics, whenever we didn't do a podcast or video, then, I mean, you guys should be definitely set. But yeah, just in case you need that help, we're going to be dropping some graphics with all of our usual advice, with our waiver wire advice, our start sit advice, and definitely, the next thing that we're going to promote here is our great partners at Underdog Fantasy. We're going to be dropping our underdog picks as well in graphic form next week, Tad, because I mean, they just been a fantastic partner. I mean, we're talking about the holiday season right now. I've been able to earn a good amount of money from our good friends at Underdog Fantasy is because they've just been so helpful when it comes to betting on their platform. Like, they give you lots of opportunities to get some free bets. Like, I mean, Tad, we talked about this so many times on the podcast where they give you these like freebies of like, Jalen Hurts over under 0.5 total yards of the game. And it's like, okay, of course you're going to get that one because unless he gets hurt, and even if he gets hurt, I'd like to think he should gain one play. But unless it's like an Aaron Rodgers situation where he gets hurt in 4 plays and doesn't get any yards,
it's called the tush push for a reason. You're going to get half a yard in the tush push. But on top of that, to interrupt you, is one of those things is, it's funny because I put $20 on a parlay last weekend when it came to Underdog. My friend said, don't do $20. I'm like, no, I'm going to do $20. He said, no, just do 5 because Underdog is so better friendly that if you just do 5, you can spread out your bets and still win plenty of money. And honestly, I should have listened to him. Like, what other site will I say that with? Where like, hey, put less money into the site. But the whole thing is, if you put less money in, they'll still match your offer. So you're really putting in twice as much. It's just it is the very definition of a win-win with no conditions attached. I've never seen that with a betting site in my life.
Exactly. You just have to make anywhere between 2 to 5 different prop bets, or you could do what, Tad's Fred loves is the rivals, where it's like you just pit one player against another player. It could be from the same team, it could be from different teams, but, they have different, betting props. It's like, who's going to have more receiving yards? Is it going to be, AJ Brown, or is it going to be Deebo Samuel? And then you sort of pick who's going to have more receiving yards. Then they had the handicap of, like, let's say they'll give Deebo Samuel an extra 10.5 receiving yards on top of that. So it's like, is AJ Brown going to be able to beat that? I don't know. So then you sort of take that into consideration. Me and Tad like just the straight prop bet picks, which obviously we'll give you our picks a little bit later this weekend. But you make anywhere between 2 to 5. The more you bet, the more money you can win. So even like Tad said, if you make something as simple as a $5 bet and you make 5 picks and you hit on all 5, you could win $100, 95 total profit coming to you. So I mean, it's just a great fantasy platform to use. Their website is very user friendly. The app is very user friendly as well. It's just such a fantastic platform. Definitely be using them. And the kicker on that one is they gave us a great promo code to definitely give to all you guys to get in on the action, because if you use our promo code DESAI, DESAI, you can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more up to $500. They will match that dollar for dollar. So Tad, I say this every time, but hypothetically, Tad, if you were to put in $500 using our promo code on your initial deposit, only the first one. It's not every time, unfortunately. They're not that generous. It's only the first one.
They're generous to an extent.
Exactly. They reach their limits for sure. But if you do up to $500 on that first deposit using our promo code, they will match that dollar for dollar. So you can bet with up to $1,000 on their platform using our promo code on your initial deposits. Once again, that promo code, you can see it on the video right there below. DESAI. The promo code is DESAI. So I mean, guys, use it. Get in on the action. There's a lot of great games that are going to be coming on the NFL slate, but they got you covered on all the sports as well. So you can bet on the NBA action. We got the full Christmas slate for the NBA on Monday, not Sunday. You obviously got the NHL going on.
There are so many NFL games happening this week that you're fine getting the schedule confused.
Well, I was confusing with the NBA because I thought Christmas is on Sunday, but it's
same story.
Monday, so that was my mistake. So you got the full slate of the NBA action on Monday, obviously, but you still got the rest of the schedule. You got the college bowls happening, obviously, so you can bet on that. MMA, they got you covered like across all fronts. I mean, the MLB, when that starts up, they got you covered there as well. So that's just for football. We're giving you our picks for football when it comes this weekend, but you can bet across all sports in case you like some other prop bets as well. But use that promo code, get in the action, and get some extra spending money right during this holiday time to get some holiday shopping done for you. But I mean, Tad, they've been fantastic partners, and I love doing this promo for them because they make it so easy for us to do this promo.
Absolutely. And like I said, they are so better friendly. And it's funny because actually, while you were talking, I was texting with friends of like, well, why don't you go to, and I will not name it, this other site? And he actually just said, well, the other site's not as good. Yeah. So, I mean, it just shows you what a great site Underdog Fantasy is. We love the partnership. We will definitely explore, winter and spring opportunities to continue this partnership throughout with them. More news on that later. But for now, we got at least, 2 more weeks?
3 more weeks or so.
3 more weeks. There we go. So we have at least, a little bit more time to keep on going with our football partnership. And while that is going on, be sure to check out, as Amir said, those handles below, because while we will not be doing YouTube shorts like we have been after this week, we have one more coming out. We will continue to give you the best advice out there. So be sure to follow us on all our socials. And thank you again to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the show.
100% accurate there, Tad. So Tad, like we talked about, this is a very crucial week. We brought it up in our episode earlier this week. A lot of people are either in the playoffs now, like this is the first week of the playoffs, or this is the second round of the playoffs for a lot of people in various leagues as well. For me, I am in the second round in my personal league, so thankfully I moved on there. I got lucky. I got very lucky. I left a lot of points on the board, but thankfully the guy that I was playing, he did not have the best week, so I was able to sort of surpass that. So we'll see what happens this week. But yeah, for me, it's the second week. For a lot of people, I know for you, Tad, in your league, this is the very beginning of the playoffs.
Yes, this is the first week of the playoffs. Yep.
Exactly. So whatever it is, whether you're in the second week, whether this is the first week, or if you're in a league where there's no playoffs at all, because I have a league like that as well, regardless of the matter, it's still helpful to have some advice when it comes to start sits. So Tad, we're definitely going to come to you with our start sits here for week 16. I'm going to kick things off because at the quarterback
position, that's my job. That's my job to kick things. You're stealing my job. They took your job.
We usually like to start at the positive here. So,
How dare
we
you?
definitely are going to start at the quarterback position. I have a start at the quarterback position, and I'm going to go with a guy that maybe there's some question marks surrounding him, especially with draft season approaching, about whether he's going to maintain his job heading into 2024
Trey
with
Lance.
the Chicago Bears. I don't know about him.
Tyson Bagent.
Well, that's actually the team that I'm talking about, the Chicago Bears, and I'm talking about Justin Fields, the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors with them possibly holding the number 1 pick, that whether they're going to, well, not their number 1 pick, but they're holding Carolina's number 1 pick to then pick, obviously, because of the trade from last year. So, yeah, whether they make that upgrade and they go with a guy like a Caleb Williams and Drake May, insert somebody else there and upgrade over Justin Fields and trade him away, or whether they stick with Justin Fields. But I think this is a very good game for Justin Fields to sort of reinsert himself as like, no, I am the guy. You drafted me for a reason. I can sort of reestablish myself. Yeah, I dealt with some injuries earlier this season, but I still had the skills to be the franchise quarterback for this team. He didn't have a great game against the Cleveland Browns, but I mean, most teams don't, because Cleveland Browns have a very strong defense. Even with all their injuries that they've been suffering, like they're still very, very strong on that side of the ball. But this week, Tad, so much more of an easier defense. They played the Arizona Cardinals this week.
Slight downgrade. We'll qualify that as a slight downgrade.
Exactly. So I think he should have a much easier time being able to perform and, do whatever he wants to. And I think Cap agrees with me. That's why he jumped up on the field there. So he sort of get it on the Justin Fields action here. They just like very much on board.
Like Myles Garrett. Did somebody say Myles Garrett? And see, he's just as fast as Myles Garrett. Too, yeah, exactly. Second I say that name, out of here.
Yeah, I would leap away as much as I could too to get away from Myles Garrett. But Arizona, let's talk about that defense. They are tied for allowing the 3rd most passing touchdowns in the NFL so far, and they are allowing the 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Now, Tad, 2 weeks ago, when Chicago played the Detroit Lions, Justin Fields had a very good game, and I think he can replicate this effort against the Arizona Cardinals. He had 281 total yards, and that was passing and rushing, and he also scored 2 total touchdowns in the game. That all surmounted to nearly 25 fantasy points. So I think that can very much happen against this Arizona team, that has a defense. That's what I was trying to say there. That is very weak, that I think they could take advantage of, and I very much like Justin Fields to just have a monster day against this Cardinals defense.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Cardinals are just weirdly the defense is the weaker side of the ball, when I feel like everyone was predicting that the offense would be that for them. And with Justin Fields, it's fun. I've gotten in so many debates with Bears fans this season about like, should they stick with Justin Fields? Should they leave Justin Fields? It seems like every Bears fan is convinced they're going to go quarterback in this year's draft and, try to trade Justin Fields. In my opinion, that is a mistake. I like what I've been seeing out of Justin Fields this season. I know he's been hurt a little bit. I know he hasn't been the best passer in the world, but I'm getting a little bit of draft talk here. It's really bugging me how if you're not like an A+ quarterback right away or within the next, first 2 years of your career, you're done and you're getting shipped off to another team. It's really annoying. I think I see a lot of promise in Justin Fields. I think he's going to, like you said, show the Bears, hey, you should keep me around during this game. Unfortunately, if the people I'm talking to are correct, won't matter. But you know what? At worst case scenario, this is an audition for another team. So, I like Justin Fields a lot here, especially because you got to remember those rushing touchdowns count for 2 more points.
100% accurate. Yeah, definitely getting those rushing touchdowns can help you a lot more in your fantasy leagues for sure. So Justin Fields start this week, I think is a very good option for you. Now let's flip it to the other side of the court here, Tad. Who do you got as far as a sit at the quarterback position this week?
So, it's funny, Amr. I checked my list. In fact, I checked it twice. Whether you were naughty or nice. Do you want to guess which one you landed on?
I'm guessing naughty.
Yeah, you're goddamn right. But anyways.
Of course.
Despite that, I'm still giving you an extra present. I got 2 sits for you at quarterback this week.
Interesting. All right.
All right. Do you want to go with kind of, not, I won't say cold take, but kind of my original, like my main take or a little bit of the hot take? Which one should I do first?
Let's do it the cold take and then warm it up with the hot take.
Okay. All right. Like a little bit of hot chocolate there.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we doing this too much?
You might be leading it into it a little bit more than I am, but we'll see.
No, when you see the Candyland prize, you just gotta go for it. Candyland, that's Christmas themed, right?
Not really.
Really? I always associated that with Christmas.
So. I don't think so.
No, it is for this episode. Anyway, so it's often called the season of love.
True.
But I do not love this quarterback. And that quarterback is Jordan Love. Now, look, I'm not saying he's bad. I don't know what he is. To be completely honest. Is he the Packers' future? Is he a bust? Is he? I don't know. His season is just so confusing to me. And that's kind of the reason why I'm saying don't trust him, is because consistency hasn't been his strongest suit. He's been under 20 points 7 times this year. So, yes, while he has these good games, and he has had a pretty good streak, I know he only scored like 8 points or something like that this past week, but before that, he was on a 20-point streak where people were like, oh, now he's back. He's just not trustworthy enough. And, you look at Carolina, and this is so weird. I was shocked to see this. Carolina is technically the best pass defense in fantasy this season. They are number 1. They have not allowed a single quarterback. I'm not joking. They've not allowed a single quarterback in the last 4 games to go over 10 points.
That is pretty insane.
How weird is that? But and the thing is, though, and the reason I put it for our listening audience, I put best in quotation marks, it's because you don't really need to pass it against them. Just keep running the ball. Like, if you have a running back facing Carolina, I'm 100% for that guy. But when it comes to the passing game, it just, for some reason, it sizzles. Feels like the best word. It sizzles against the Panthers, where you see a little bit of heat there, but never ultimately, tends to spark up. So I actually, while Jordan Love, I don't think he's going to have a bad game. That's not what I'm saying. But at this point in the season, I am looking for my quarterback to get over 20 points. I don't think he's going to get to that mark. So because the Panthers are so bad, it's this weird dichotomy we're living in. The extra quarterback, my little bit of a hotter take. So the marshmallows are melting in that hot chocolate a little bit.
Yep.
I wouldn't start Brock Purdy if I were you.
That's a risky play. I agree with this one because just the defense that Baltimore presents is just very strong, and it just worries me. But, honestly, for the people that are considering starting him, like in case you want to go against Tad's advice here, he's faced tougher defenses like Philadelphia and Dallas before, and he's absolutely scored pretty well against them. I know what you're going to say about Philadelphia, but against Dallas, heading into that game, there's a lot of questions about whether he can perform against a strong defense like that. He really showed out that game. So
he did, but that's the outlier. If you look at that, when he faces strong defenses, he tends to do good, not great. Anywhere from the 16 to 22 point range, which is good. That's fine. That's why, for fuck's sake, I've had Patrick Mahomes. I would kill for him to land in that range consistently. But my point being is, again, with the point of the year we're in, this is a very risky play. And that's a fun of the fantasy playoffs, is because normally this would be a fine, risky start. I would not advise you against it. But now where it's one and done, like you lose and you're out, I just don't know. Because you said, I know what you're going to say about Philadelphia. Philadelphia's secondary sucks. Yeah. I'm very confident in saying that now. Seattle's secondary sucks. So, yes, I know that Brock Purdy's on a 3-game streak of 20-plus points, but they haven't played anybody. So, I'm just a little worried about going into the 3rd-ranked fantasy defense against the Ravens when they're maybe right. I have no evidence to back this up, but I just have a gut feeling they're a little too full of themselves right now, and this may be what knocks you guys back down to earth. So, while Brock Purdy is a risky but viable start, if you have a better option out there, I say take that better option.
No, I agree with that one. I think in a very crucial, like I said, moving on to the championship round, whatever league that you're playing in, Brock Purdy is just a riskier play against such a strong defense. And, like I said, he has done it in the past, but he's also failed in the past as well against some weaker teams as well. But with the streak that they're on, I don't doubt that he could have a pretty good game. But yeah, if you're looking to cross that 20-point mark for your quarterback, I just don't know if he could do that much in this game. Like, he'll probably play good, and he won't cause the offense
to probably finish at like 15 or 16 points.
Exactly.
I can see that.
I was just about to say that. I was like, somewhere in that 15 to 17 point range, I can see that happening. But if you want that 20-point mark, I think you need to look somewhere else. Because, I just don't anticipate that happening. I very much like them to lean on Christian McCaffrey as well as running the ball. So it's just like, if they can establish that, then I don't know how much Brock Purdy will have to do. But he'll have a good game. I think that's for sure. But just as far as fantasy-wise, to help you get to a title, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I like that. I like that for sure. All right, Tal, let's move on to the running back position here in week 16. Do you have a start or do you have a sit for me?
I got to start for you, and people are going to think I'm crazy because his last game was terrible. Charles Barkley, terrible.
All right.
Yeah, your Charles Barkley is always better than mine.
I've been practicing it for a while.
Yeah, no, it's quite good. It shows. I'm telling you, it's going to be okay. I know he probably, hopefully, didn't screw you out of the playoffs yet. Breece Hall is due for a bounce back.
Ooh, this is a very interesting play.
It is an interesting play. It is. It's risky. Don't get me wrong. It's risky for a multitude of reasons. First off, he only scored 2.3 points last week. Whew. Second off, Zach Wilson has officially been ruled out. And for sensitivity's sake, I'm not going to put in quote marks. Maybe he actually does have a concussion, but it's a little suspect that a story comes out a couple weeks ago. He doesn't want to play for the Jets anymore. And then all of a sudden he suffers a concussion. And now it's looking like he won't play for the rest of the season. A little suspect in my opinion. I'm not saying anything.
Sure.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just pointing out facts before the Wilson camp tries to sue me. Do Mormons sue?
Not sure about that one. But we talked about it in our starts at episode too. In our waiver wire episode earlier this week. That just like he did take a big hit in that game.
He did.
We're evaluating him for a concussion. It just wasn't confirmed. They were like, is he dehydrated? Was it something else? Whatever it was. So they took him out of that game. So I don't doubt that he's actually in the concussion protocol. But just long term, as far as like whether he'll suit up again for the Jets, then that you can sort of enter some question marks here, but that's not the purpose of today's episode. We'll sort of get into that maybe later.
Yeah. So regardless, whether it's legitimate or not, he's already been ruled out for this weekend, which is why I'm saying like that's the fastest concussion rule out I've ever seen. Because usually the NFL is like, let's wait till Friday. Friday comes, he's still concussed. Okay, we got about 24 hours. Let's see in 24 hours. Like that's usually how it goes. But anyway, I digress. Point being is now the Jets have time to game plan around. Now, how about this for a throwback name? Trevor Siemian as starting NFL quarterback.
Trevor Siemian.
Poor Jet fans, man. Hey, at
been a rough season for him.
At least it's not Tim Doyle. Boyle, whatever. Who cares?
Boyle, yeah.
Who gives a shit? But my point being is the game plan is going to be more coherent, unlike me. This next weekend. Shut up. This next weekend.
You said it yourself.
And on top of this is they are playing the Commanders. The Commanders are the 27th ranked defense against the run. And the last time, I want you to guess this. Guess the last time the Commanders held an opposing team's running backs to less than 10 points.
Less than 10 points?
Less than 10.
I want to say week 4.
Week 4. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. You are incorrect. It was week 1.
Oh, jeez. It was that bad. Wow.
It's that bad. Wow. That Commanders run defense is real bad, man. Especially since they got rid of Montez Sweat.
Okay.
Especially since they got rid of Chase Young. It went from bad to worse. And yes, that is a cliche, but my God, if there's a time to use it, it is this Commanders run defense. So I think with the Jets having an overall like coherent game plan, hopefully this time around against a very, very bad run defense, I actually think Breece Hall is good for at the very least 10 points. Max, I think he could get up into those upper teens.
No, I very much like the sort of advantage of just the play there, right? Where it's like Breece Hall, very strong running back. He didn't have the great game last week, but yeah, presenting this type of defense, especially like you said, since week 1, that is insane to me.
Week 1, they've allowed double digits to every team since week 1.
That is absolutely
That's so bad.
That is absolutely a Matador style defense for this running back and Breece Hall. So yeah, this is
and then keep in mind, then they nuked their defensive line. That was true. Even before they nuked their defensive line, and then they did that, so it's even worse now.
Yeah, no, I'd very much be surprised if Rod Rivera is able to hold on to his head coaching job heading into the season. There's a reason they fired Jack Del Rio as well, because just their defense has not been playing well. But I suspect, a casualty of Black Monday will be Rod Rivera as well. They need to go in a different direction. Just this team is just not clicking at all. And especially because of that, Breece Hall makes a very fantastic play this week.
Yeah, so I think Breece Hall is a good start. I think a lot of people might get scared off, from him. They look at the Jets, they look at his last week's performance, but I'm telling you, last week's performance was a unfortunate fluke. Usually has a pretty positive connotation to it. That was a negative fluke right there. And real quick, just a couple, like 30 seconds or less. It was funny. Me and my friends were talking, like, who's the Chargers' next head coach going to be? I think it should be Bieniemy. Do you think Washington tries to promote Bieniemy in Rivera's place? That's the counter my friend had.
I remember reading a report that he may be in contention to possibly get that job in Washington, but yeah, that would be a pretty interesting move. I think the offense has obviously done better than the defense this entire season. So yeah, you can't blame that on Bieniemy then. So like him ascending to the head coaching role, I wouldn't rule it out of the picture, especially when you're looking to sort of make a change in that, they haven't had a, minority head coach, I think, in a very long time, if I can remember correctly.
I believe ever is the word you're looking for.
Never. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Whoa. I don't know. That's speculation.
Okay.
I was making a joke.
Yeah. See, that's why I didn't want to go definitive.
Dan Snyder, please do not sue me. Wait, who owns them?
But at least in recent history, I don't think they've had a minority head coach. And so, yeah, going in that direction, especially with the new, front office regime, the new ownership there, that could be a good direction to sort of bring back some good publicity, especially after all the changes with, the logo change and all the, stuff with Dan Snyder and all that stuff. This could be a good turning point here to sort of make that move, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll cover that in an
and this is what I told my friend, though, and sorry, we're gonna keep this going for a bit, is if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm going, okay, Sam Howell, Justin Herbert. Like, come on. That's not that hard of a decision.
No, it's true, but they also have an in-house candidate in Kellen Moore in Los Angeles. So it's
Get the hell out of here. You put that in the LAFB Slack. Look at what feedback you're gonna get.
No, I know.
I dare you.
But we'll see. We'll see exactly. Right. Like we'll cover this in a later offseason episode here for sure. But I'm going to get to a sit at the running back position here. Tad, this is a guy that we've actually been kind of praising the last couple of weeks, but he is back to his, oh my God, just terrible ways. Just he is not good anymore at all.
Why would you bench Al Rowe like that?
Never bench Al Rowe. That's never going to happen. But we are going to bench Najee Harris, running back with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Whoa. Time out. That was slander against me. I have never once in my life complimented that man. I have hated him since he was drafted into the league.
No, he had a good streak because Tad, from week 7 to 10,
I will admit
from week 7 through 10, he has had 4 straight double-digit performances. We're like, all right, fine. He's finally jumping back and he's becoming a fantasy relevant option. But here, Tad, over the last 5 weeks, Harris has gone over double-digit fantasy points just once, and he's very much, you're close, but it was once. He did do it once. But just he's very much regressing back to that running back that we saw at the beginning of the season. A lot of what we saw last season. A lot of people wanted to blame Matt Canada for that, but even with his firing, his offense has not looked that much better. They had that one game where
my boy's struggling.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks as whether Kenny Pickett is going to be with the team going forward, but there's definitely going to be some competition. But just regardless, it's just like because of that, the running game suffers. Obviously, Najee Harris has just not been looking good. Steelers have been running the ball, though. So it's not even a question about like he's not getting carries. It's just that they haven't been effective with it. It is very much like you've talked about in the past, where it's just like he's getting the ball a lot, but he's not doing much with it.
It's like 2.5 yards per carry.
Exactly. So it's just surprising that it's just like with the change in offensive coordinator, it just hasn't led to any sort of changes. It's, obviously like we talked about the lack of production for the passing game with Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky. Now it's going to be Mason Rudolph this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. Regardless of what it was, that quarterback carousel is causing problems for the running game as well. In this divisional matchup, I like Cincinnati to just force Mason Rudolph to beat them. Like they're going to shut down the running game and they're going to be like, all right, Mason Rudolph, do what you can against this defense and force him to beat them. But that's going to be a lot harder. But just regardless, I don't think it's going to take Cincinnati that much effort to stop Najee Harris because they haven't been very effective over the last 5 weeks with running the ball. So Najee Harris, I mean, for a while, it looked like he was jumping back and he was sort of coming back as far as like, this is a good option for you. But over the last 5 weeks, it's like, nope, this is what we get Najee Harris in this offense. So it's like, he's a better sit this week.
flex play at best. Like that's a desperation
That's
flex
pushing
play.
it.
Like
That's like if you're
exactly.
desperate, but it's like for
Right.
me, it's like I'd put him on the bench.
Like if you're truly like kind of like I'm just strapped to put someone in that position, I think
Yeah.
Najee Harris is your best bet just because like we said, he gets the touches, he just doesn't do shit with it. So like if you get your touches, okay, fine. Because I honestly God, if you had asked me 2 months ago, I thought that he would be fantasy irrelevant at this point. Jaylen Warren would have been one of the best midseason pickups of the season.
Very true. Very true.
This is the first time where I'm really looking and I'm like, Mike Tomlin, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because I think that Jaylen Warren works this offense much, much better. So I don't exactly know why Najee Harris is still a focal point, but regardless, he's still a focal point. So just by pure volume, if you're really strapped for a flex option, go for it, I guess. But still, I don't feel great about it. I have said since he's been in the draft that Najee Harris is one of the most overrated running backs in the NFL that I've ever seen. He is the most overrated running back I've seen. How about this for a throwback name? Since Chris Beanie Wells. I also knew he was going to suck.
Chris Beanie Wells.
How about that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I said everyone called me crazy back then in middle school. I was like, no, Sean Marino is better than Beanie Wells. And everyone was like, no, Ohio State guy is better. I'm like, no, Sean Marino is better. Look who played longer.
In all fairness, it took Marino a long time until Peyton Manning came to the Broncos
until
he finally became relevant.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, and plus you just play that national anthem, the tears start flowing, and he's good to go.
Yeah, no, I like Marino more than Beanie Wells as well coming out, but that's a story for a little bit later though.
That's
all right, Taz, let's move on to the receiver position here. Do you have a start or do you have a sit for me this week?
I have a sit. I'm cheating a little bit here because he may not play at all, but even if he does play, I don't think you should start him. And here's the thing: is he's a big name on a good team, and a lot of, shall we say, more casual fantasy followers are going to start him simply because of those two reasons. But I'm telling you right now, I don't care if he's healthy or not. I don't care if that D or Q, I don't even know where he's at right now, goes to disappears. You do not play DeVonta Smith this week.
Interesting. Okay.
So let's just address the injury news right off the bat. He has not practiced all week. The news came out, and by the way, spoiler alert, we're recording on a Friday night, at least Central Time. He did not practice today as of Friday. Whenever a player does not practice on a Friday, that's hugely alarming to me. So even if he does play, though, I don't trust him. He's gone 2 straight weeks without reaching the double-digit points. He finished at 7.3 and 7.5, something around that range, depending on your layout. And then I know before that he was kind of riding high, but people tend to forget and I wrote down, give me 1 second, from week, excuse me. Here we go. I didn't even write it down because you know what? It was weeks straight. 5 weeks straight. Earlier this season, he also went without reaching the double digits. You remember that when he was reaching that super cold streak and we're all like, what's wrong with DeVonta Smith? Some people are blaming AJ Brown. Some people are blaming Jalen Hurts. It looks kind of like he's fallen back into that streak, and that was even before he got hurt. So when it comes to DeVonta Smith, I understand the name temptation there, the team temptation there. I understand it's going to be hard and you feel like a crazy person, but if I were you, if DeVonta Smith were on my team, I'd bench him right now.
Interesting move for sure. So you're talking about a number 2 receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to talk about a new number 2 receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's Tyler Boyd. I'm picking him as a start this week. So in case you haven't heard, talk about injury news to receivers. Jamar Chase is not going to be playing this week. He is out for week 16 in their matchup against the Steelers. He is dealing with an AC sprain joint in his right shoulder, so he will not be suiting up this weekend. So very much T. Higgins is a great start, but I like the secondary option in Tyler Boyd because I'm pretty sure he's more widely available in your leagues in case you need to pick up a waiver wire option. But, you'll look at the last time the Steelers and the Bengals played, Boyd had only 3 receptions for 23 yards. Now, why do you think I bring this up? Well, big reason those numbers were so low is because Jamar Chase played in that game. So obviously those numbers are going to be a lot lower. Like I said, he's going to miss this week. So I expect those, targets and receptions and receiving yards are going to be vacated. And that's going to be spread across, your T. Higgins, your Tyler Boyd, your Tanner Hudson, your Trenton Irwin, your Andre Yeshivas out of Princeton.
I was just about to ask. Yeah, I was just about to ask who the Ivy League kid was.
So it's probably going to spread out across all that there, but I very much like, those two veteran options in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to definitely step up in this offense. And I mean, Jake Browning, I mean, it's sensational what this guy is doing in place of Joe Burrow. This offense hasn't really skipped a beat with him under center compared to Joe Burrow. Obviously, Joe Burrow makes this offense just that much more better, but Jake Browning is make this passing offense just still a dangerous part of the offense to pair with that overall, team overall. So that's why they're still very much in contention for a playoff spot. But because of that, that's why I like Tyler Boyd still as an option. It's like usually go to the backup option. It's like, I don't know if I could trust some of these backup receivers or the receivers in this offense now, but Jake Browning has been playing really well. So that's why I very much like Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins was the main guy against the Minnesota Vikings last week. He did score the 2 touchdowns, especially that amazing one where he's like reaching behind and he's still reaching like that was
out. Yeah,
exactly. That was one of my favorite scores this entire season, but I expect the Steelers to sort of key in on T. Higgins. So I think that's going to open things up for Tyler Boyd. So I think he's going to be able to sort of take advantage of that and have a very good day on Sunday when they play there. Oh, sorry, they play on Saturday. Excuse me. They play on Saturday.
Like I said, the schedule is very confusing.
It gets a little confusing during this weekend for sure, but they are playing on Saturday. But regardless, I still like him as a great start this week because, he's going to be able to take advantage of teams keying in on T. Higgins. He'll be able to be that supplemental piece for Jake Browning to really move the ball down the field there. So Tyler Boyd, pick him up if he's available and start it this week. Plug and play.
Yeah, I saw, who was I doing research on? I was doing research on, I think it was DeVonta Smith and the player I'll likely name next. And they're playing Monday at 3:30. I was like, hold on, Monday 3:30? Is why? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Christmas on Sunday. So yes, no, the schedule this next week is absolutely insane. No, I like that a lot too. And the one reason I'm going to get in draft mode a little bit here is the one reason I really like that pick is Jake Browning has looked good for a rookie. I think he's being a little overblown where his footwork still needs a lot of work. He's one of those guys where it's like, okay, he's really good, or like, oh my God, I can't believe he pulled off that throw. But if it went the opposite way, we'd be like, yeah, this guy sucks. And I mean that because of his throw that went to your boy, Tyler Boyd, in overtime last week, where like, yes, Boyd broke it off for like a 30-yard run after the catch. It set up the game-winning field goal, and everyone's like, oh my God, Jake Browning. And really, if you go back and look at the throw, that was not a great throw. He threw into like double coverage there. But that's kind of Browning's, bread and butter, weirdly, is throwing into crowded spaces. Who's better at doing that? Who's better at catching a pass in that situation? Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins?
Probably T. Higgins.
Oh, dude, no, it's Tyler Boyd.
Okay.
Tyler Boyd is a more physical receiver. He weighs at least 20 pounds more than T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a better like slot receiver.
That's fair.
So point being is Tyler Boyd is the replacement for Jamar Chase while Chase is out, and T. Higgins is still T. Higgins. Nothing to take away from Higgins. That boy is about to get paid this offseason. Coming to Indianapolis, I hear it's lovely this time of year. But point being is I think that Browning, I almost said Browning is going to lean more on Boyd than Higgins. And, I always say this about receivers, targets equals production.
Exactly. All right, Chad, let's get to the tight end position here. And I'm going to kick these off because I haven't started this position. But this is a guy that you've been lauding the past couple of weeks. I think you've picked him as a waiver wire option or a start sit option the past couple of episodes.
Okay.
But he's been backing it up because he's been having solid games. And that is David Njoku, the tight end.
Njoku.
Chad, this is just insane when I saw this. But David Njoku has back-to-back games with at least 25 fantasy points. Like,
my friend, trust me. I know. Guess whose team he's been on the last 2 weeks? This guy right here.
And all of that matters absolutely
Shut it. Hey, no, it does. It does. Because I don't need to go back to the Denny's this year. I managed to avoid last place.
There you go. But Ted, it's crazy because he's had it in back-to-back seasons. But if you count those 2 performances, he's been in the league for 7 seasons. And Njoku has had 4 performances just going over 20 fantasy points. So, I mean, it's just like, it's insane that just with Joe Flacco, we brought this up before, he likes to leverage the tight ends in his offense, even going back to his days in Baltimore, even during his brief time in New York when he was with the Jets. Like, he was leveraging the tight end there. There were streaming options as far as the tight end when he was with the Jets as well, because he just likes that safety blanket option of the tight end there. They're big targets. So, I mean, yeah, him coming down to Cleveland, this is just very good for all David Njoku fantasy managers. The Texans are one of the worst defenses when it comes to defending the tight end. They have allowed 7.7 fantasy points to opposing tight ends, which is tied for 7th worst in the NFL. And they're allowing the 2nd most receptions and 3rd most receiving yards to opposing tight ends as well. So like I said, the combination of Flacco and Njoku is going to pay big fantasy dividends this week in the fantasy playoffs. Also, you have to look at the fact that it's a great combination. Like, I really can't say anything more than that. It's just like him, Flacco's story is great, but just him, what he could do for David Njoku now, especially if you're a fantasy manager of his, or if he's still available for some reason, like, go pick him up because he is a great start now. He could be a league winner for you in the fantasy playoffs if you're able to get him.
I mean, we talked about it. Is like Joe Flacco is the guy that started off Mark Andrews' career. Right? Like that, he is the one that made Mark Andrews a household name to start it off. And yeah, that guy just loves him some big athletic tight ends. And it was too funny because last week, as most Njoku managers know, throughout the game, it was a very rough game where he had like 1.5 through the first 3 quarters. I'm like, okay, all right, this is where the Njoku run ends. And then the Browns went on like 2 very long drives where he basically threw it exclusively to Njoku. The entire time I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is great. If only I had not started Olave because I woke up a little too early or a little too late last Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, too late. I thought it was the late slate. Just always check your timing. We can boil this entire episode down to a 5-second clip. Make sure you know your players line up because I thought Olave was a 4 o'clock. Anyway, point being is Njoku single-handedly brought me back in my matchup. And had I, benched Olave and brought in another guy, I would have won solely based off 2 drives by the Browns. Now imagine they start clicking. Njoku is a focal point, and as a guy who's gotten off to kind of a slow career start, this is like the peak Njoku we were all hoping for.
Exactly.
By the way, he looks like an alien. He looks like something on Mad Max. He's got the white dreads.
Yeah.
He's 6'7".
Yeah.
He has the muscles of the freaking Hulk. Like, if I saw David Njoku and he tried to start a fight with me, I'd just lay down.
Yeah. No, he's a crazy physical presence for sure. And he's benefiting from Joe Flacco being under center for the Cleveland Browns for sure.
And he can run 4-4.
Yeah, that's the crazy part too. All right, Ted. So obviously we like David Njoku as a start this week, but who is your tight end that you're sitting this week?
Okay, if I end up murdered over winter break, a Philly fan did it to me because I'm benching another Eagle. And I'm quite literally mean, benching another Eagle because he is on my bench. I'm benching Dallas Goedert.
Yeah. Smart move.
It's a big name that people, again, it's a big name against a weak opponent, the Giants, that people are going to go, well, he's on the Eagles. I recognize the name of Dallas Goedert. He's playing the Giants. This must be a good matchup. It's not. It's really not. And I'll tell you why. As Dallas Goedert, over under 3 times has Dallas Goedert gone over over 10 points this year.
This year?
This year.
Under.
It is under. He's only done it twice all season.
Yeah, I think the injury sort of played into the fact.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the injury, though, because I know all these Philly fans are going to be like, well, he was out for 5 weeks. I'm including all the games he played. He's only done it twice. But even before then, that's a span of almost 10 games. So that's a fairly good sample size to work off of. If he missed like 12 games or something like that, where more than half his season was missing, I would no, that's an unfair stat. You're cherry picking from like 3 games. Fair point. But no, we have a sizable demonstration that this offense just does not utilize him very well. And on top of that, the Giants defense is actually the 8th ranked defense against tight ends. So on top of all this, he is basically what all tight ends have become, which is touchdown dependent. If he scores a touchdown, gets in double digits, he makes me look like an idiot. If he doesn't, I look like a genius, which I am. But point being is, I don't think, again, don't you scrunch your face at that. Worse than my mother, swear to God. But point being is, at this point in the season, a touchdown dependent tight end is not the type of risk that you want to take. And while I love Dallas Goedert, he's a very good tight end. Until this offense shows me otherwise, he is riding my bench for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think just the tough thing is just you see the way the Eagles have been playing the past handful of weeks, and it's like you hope they could turn it around against the Giants, but it's just like we don't have that guarantee yet. And even if they were to get that offense going, I like the run to be a little bit more established in this
Right,
game because that's
exactly.
sort of the reason why they got to the Super Bowl last year.
DeAndre Swift, that man's about to have himself a day.
Yeah, so that's the reason they got to the Super Bowl last year was playing good defense and obviously running the ball, and that's the reason they won the Super Bowl in 2017 was playing good defense and running the ball. So I expect them to establish the run a little bit more, and if they get to the passing action, I very much like AJ Brown to sort of be more of a benefactor compared to Dallas Goedert because just I don't know what it's been, but just they've had some issues the past couple of weeks, but even with that, even with them possibly getting back on track, I just don't like Dallas Goedert to be part of that conversation. He may chip in here or there, but I don't think it's going to be significant enough where it's like you need this guy to get you into the fantasy title game. I just don't think he could do that for you. Very similar to like we were talking about with Brock Purdy. It's like he can do good, yes, but he's not going to do great.
Right. He's going to put up 6 or 7 points. I'm convinced of that, but 6 or 7 points from the tight end during the regular season, fine, whatever. It's not going to lose me a game. That's what I'm worried about. Is the tight end going to cost me? Now you need to ask the question, is my tight end going to win me this game?
Exactly.
And with this game, with this matchup, I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, I can see very much a stat line of 3 for 40, no touchdowns. That's very much what
I agree.
Happen.
And fun fact, by the way, like I said, he is quite literally on my bench for who? Njoku. I love that man.
Yeah. If only he was able to do that for you earlier this season.
Shut it.
All right, Tad, we got to the kickers and the defenses here. Why don't you give me both of them for me, starts or sits, whatever they are.
All right, real quick. I won't spend too much time on this, especially because I only have one bullet point for this one. I like the Broncos defense against the Patriots. Why? Because that defense is on a really good hot streak, and that Patriots offense blows.
God awful.
Zappy, sorry. I don't even know. But here's how much this offense sucks. I didn't even bother to do research on this. All I said was I looked at who the lower starting percentages were. And then I was like, okay, cool. Is Zappy starting for them? I don't even know who's starting at a quarterback for them.
I'm pretty sure they're going with Zappy for the rest of the season. I think Mac Jones is
done. That's what I figured.
Unless Zappy just really struggles and they go back to Jones, but I don't see that happening.
Who will also really struggle?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, start the Broncos defense because, that's just flat out a good matchup. And it's funny, actually, I will bring this up is I went out with friends on Tuesday night and we were, just talking over drinks and stuff. And one of my friends was asking me, which defense do I pick up? And fun fact, I told him, don't pick up that defense. Picked up that defense next morning. It was a little bit of a misdirect. But my other friend, Kevin Kiesick, shout out because I know he'll yell at me if I don't shout him out. He brought up a very good point is at this point in the fantasy season, you want to choose teams who have something to play for.
Very true.
Because how that was brought up was my other friend, Matt, who was debating between another defense and the Jets defense. Jets have nothing to play for anymore. Aaron Rodgers has been confirmed not to come back. I believe have they been mathematically eliminated? I don't think.
A long time ago, 2 weeks ago, they've been mathematically eliminated.
No. Carolina was the first one to get eliminated last weekend.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Jets were the first team eliminated, but the Jets have been eliminated for a while now.
So point being, though, is they have nothing to play for.
Nope.
Right? The Broncos absolutely have something to play for. Yes, so that could be a very dangerous defense going against a very bad offense. So I really like the Broncos, who are available in about 70% of leagues, believe it or not, because I think people are still riding that weird trend of way back 3 months ago when they sucked. But Broncos defense started my book. As for sit, I mean, you want to go from a hot team to a cold team. I don't think you can get a better comparison than this. I'm saying sit Cameron Dicker for the sole reason of what's going on with the Chargers, man? Does anybody know? This just seems like a train wreck where it's just let's crawl our way to the finish line and we'll just do a status report after the season. I don't know if this offense is any good. Easton Stick is still playing. They waived my boy Duggan. This just seems like a nightmare of an offense. And I'm not saying that they're going to suck for the next couple of weeks, but I'm just saying, and very rarely do I say this on the podcast, I don't know. I don't know if this Chargers, team can recover from what happened to them against the Raiders. It really seemed like that was just kind of
that was so demoralizing. It's
exactly. How do you come back for that? It just seems like I don't know. I'm not even a Chargers fan, but just I feel bad for them because it just seems like, do we really have to play 3 more games? It's okay. And if that is true, they're not going to score all that much, which means not a lot of scoring opportunities for Cameron Dicker, the kicker. So honest to God, I'm staying away from every Charger this week. I almost listed Eckler as a sit.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind if you did list him as a sit, because I mean, you just talked about how you need teams that are playing for something to sort of think about those teams as far as
you
your
need
fantasy
that motivation,
playoffs.
that drive.
And who are the Chargers playing this weekend? Do you remember?
Actually, that is one of my notes. They're playing the hottest team in the NFL.
That is correct. The Buffalo Bills. And so they're very much playing for a playoff spot, because they're right now, if I remember looking at the standings correctly, they're still on the outside looking
They
in.
are.
They're
the,
very
the
much
Colts. The Colts have higher playoff chances than the Buffalo Bills right now.
Exactly. So the Bills are very much still fighting for their playoff lives, whereas like the Chargers are absolutely not playing for anything except maybe a high draft pick. I mean, that's the only thing that they're playing for. But in that case, you want to lose this game. So I mean, with that reason, it's like, yeah, Dicker's not a good play. Definitely, I would be opposed people sitting Austin Eckler, because yeah, it's just I don't know how he's going to perform
Josh
against
Palmer,
the team that's bringing
maybe
more. Exactly.
Gerald Everett, no. If you're an IDP, maybe Bosa. How's he been doing? I don't even know how he's been doing this season.
He's been all right. So, I mean, yeah, maybe the defensive players could give you more advantages if you're playing in an IDP league, like your
offensively, I'm not touching shit.
Kenneth Murray or Khalil Max, obviously, but just like, yeah, offensively, it's like, yeah, if you can afford to sit all your Chargers offensive players, that's probably a wise move to make, especially if you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, probably. So it extends all the way to the kicker. So sit Dicker the kicker. Seriously. Love you, buddy, but sorry. Nope, not this week.
All right, so I'm going to go with the start and sit. I'm going to start with the sit. I'm going to go with the Cowboys defense against the Miami Dolphins.
This is cool. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I really don't know. But, Tad, here's what I had to do. I had to look through as far as the numbers here. This is not a good matchup for Dallas, because Miami is averaging over 31 points per game, which is the best in the league. They're also gaining 414 total yards of offense per game, which is also best in the league. So, I mean, this is one of the league's best offenses going against this defense. And I mean, we've seen this Cowboys defense put up some very sensational fantasy performances, but they've come against very terrible teams. Because if you look at the teams that they played against that had top 15 offenses as of now, they averaged 6.8 fantasy points. So you look at that, it's pretty good, right? But if you look at all the other teams that they played, their average jumps, skyrockets even, all the way to 16.75 fantasy points per game. So they played weaker offenses, and that's led to them having better defensive performances for fantasy teams, obviously. But they're playing a very strong, if not the strongest offense in the league right now in Miami, at least as stats are concerned, they're the strongest. So it's like 6.8 fantasy points, may be good, but it's a little risky too, because this can go high scoring either way. And if it gets high scoring, a lot of points being let up, a lot of yards being let up, unless they're going to force a lot of turnovers, which I don't see happening, they're very much a sit this week. So, I mean, Dallas, as strong as they've been all season long, they probably got you into the playoffs. But once you're in the playoffs, I think you need to sit them this week.
So, in case my typing came over the sound there, you reminded me of a tweet I saw on Tuesday. I had to look it up again. How about this? So this is courtesy of NFL and CBS on Twitter, X, whatever. Screw you, Elon. Cowboys versus Dolphins will be the first game in NFL history between teams with 20 plus combined wins. But one or fewer wins versus teams above 500.
Right.
Cowboys,
yeah, I remember saying that. Yep.
Are 1-3 against teams above 500. They are 9-1 versus teams below 500.
Yep.
The Dolphins are 0-3 against teams below or above 500. They are 10-1 against teams below 500. That's incredible. So like we have basically with that, for those of you, and I know that's very hard to like communicate through like an audio medium or even a video medium. Let me sum up that tweet for you. We have never in NFL history seen this matchup, which will prove who is a contender and who is a pretender. And don't ask me which is which, because I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. If you asked me last week, like last Saturday, I would have been like, oh, and the Cowboys are better than the Dolphins. And then Buffalo happened. And I'm just like, which, by the way, was so much fun to bully my students about this week. That just, chef's kiss going in winter break. Thank you, Buffalo. I don't know. Yeah. So, and like I said, I say this even during the fantasy regular season. If you don't know, stay away. But especially if you don't know in the playoffs, you stay the hell away.
But yeah, 100% you want to be sitting both of these defenses between the Dolphins and the Cowboys because, yeah, it could go either way. It could be a high-scoring game. It could be a low-scoring game, but it's too much of a
risk. It could
be
be 10-3 and it wouldn't shock me.
Exactly, because, yeah, like we sort of brought up already in this episode, it's like once you're in the fantasy playoffs, you want to avoid as much risk as you can. You want to go with more certainty. And in this situation between the Dolphins and the Cowboys, on defense specifically, that's too much risk for me. So sit both teams, regardless of which one you have. 100% sit the Cowboys, though. I'm going to go with the start at the kicker position, Tad. And here's a name that you may remember, but we haven't really talked about this guy at all, probably the entire podcast during the fantasy regular season. Chase McLaughlin. Kicker with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. McLaughlin has not had a ton of chances to kick field goals for the Bucs, surprisingly. He ranks 21st in the NFL in field goal attempts. But here's the thing, though. In back-to-back weeks, he's had double-digit performances, and he should have a good matchup this week with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are averaging 11 fantasy points per game over their last 3 games to opposing kickers. So they've been letting up a lot of field goal opportunities for opposing kickers. So in this case, especially with the game that Tampa Bay had last week with Baker Mayfield just absolutely lighting it up on offense, it seems like he's in a rhythm. I think he can move this offense down the field. Maybe they may stall a little bit because Jacksonville is still very much alive in that AFC South playoff picture. They were front runners for that division, but now things have sort of changed a lot. And now Houston's part of the picture, and your Colts are still part of the picture.
Yeah, we are. Third wild card, baby. Third wild card.
Not even just the wild card, but they're still very much alive to win the division as well. So
we're not
Jacksonville falters.
Houston's
still very much a chance that Indianapolis could be in that case. But regardless, when they were first, locked in as division winners for this for the AFC South, it's not the same case. So they very much need to play hard. So their defense may play a little bit harder, stop the Bucs from scoring touchdowns, but they may lead to more field goal opportunities. So very much like Chase McLaughlin as a start this week for sure. All right, Ted, that will close out our final episode, possibly of 2023. We'll see exactly what happens. We may be able to slip in an episode before the year ends, but most likely this is our final episode of 2023. Is our final start-sit episode of 2023.
I have a question for you then. Real quick, what was your best move and what was your worst move of fantasy football across all leagues this year?
Getting too much, well, obviously this is hard to predict, but having too many shares of both Aaron Rodgers and Nick Chubb this season. Like I said, I played in 8 fantasy leagues, and I think in 5 leagues I rostered Nick Chubb, and 4 leagues I rostered Aaron Rodgers. So that definitely put me behind the 8 ball early. As far as best moves I made, I would say you actually talked about him in this episode, Dallas Goedert. I traded Dallas Goedert.
You sold him high?
Not sold him high, but I was able to take advantage because I needed to trade for a quarterback because once again, I was without Aaron Rodgers. So I was able to leverage trading one of my backup quarterbacks. I want to say, who was my quarterback that I traded? I'm not blanking on the quarterback. I traded a quarterback at Dallas Goedert. I was able to acquire Kirk Cousins and Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta.
Oh, he got you those 25 points the last.
So he was able to bank on. I was able to bank on it for the last handful of seasons. But yes, once again, you talk about Kirk Cousins. He unfortunately got injured in one of my leagues, so that hurt me as well. So I mean, the trade sort of worked out for me, sort of didn't work out for me, but that's probably one of the moves that I made recently, or just over the course of the season that I could sort of think of off the top of my head that sort of worked in my favor, that also did work in my
favor. All right. Do I need to get mine? I don't want to.
You gotta give yours. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. I could probably list one off the top of my head for you.
Shut up. I traded Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I told you to hang on to him, but you were too impatient. You were like, the kid who needs to play with this Christmas toy right on vacation.
That's exactly what it was.
Right on Christmas Day, but he doesn't have the batteries. He's getting too impatient, so he just moves on to another toy, regardless of how good the toy that he had that doesn't have batteries, not willing for his parents to put it in. So that was you.
All right. But to prove I'm not a complete moron is I'm actually good. It's a tie. It's a tie because these are both trades I made. One was about 2 weeks ago. The other was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I just recently traded for Mike Evans and Joe Mixon. And both trades, people were just like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, trust me, these guys are about to start a hot streak. And both those guys, they were the ones that pulled me out of last place. They are the ones to make sure I do not have to go back to the godforsaken Denny's. So look, some trades are winners, some trades are losers. Like you said, I just need to learn when to be patient. patient. Exactly. I'm working with my therapist on it. It's not going well, but we will continue to work on it throughout break. But regardless, guys, thank you so much for a great fantasy season. It's been so much fun. But just because fantasy season may or may not be over, like Amir said, we may have 1 or 2 more episodes left. We'll see. We're not done.
100% we're not done. 100% not. We're not done.
We're in 2024 rolling, baby.
Exactly. And yeah, even though we may be done with like our waiver wire episodes and our start sit episodes, we're still going to do our fantasy wrap up episode where we sort of just go through the fantasy season. We'll give, our fantasy awards. We'll probably dive a little bit deeper into some of our best moves and our worst moves over the course of the season. Hurt. So, I mean, yeah, this is just off the top of my head, obviously, but just like, yeah, we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive, maybe give a few extra picks there. We'll look through our fantasy bold predictions probably, but just we'll give you a full fantasy wrap up for the 2023 season, maybe give you a quick preview into 2024 season. But then, yeah, 100%, just like Tad said, as soon as we hit to the offseason, as soon as we hit 2024, we're going to start making that transition. Like I said, we're going to wrap up the fantasy episode parts of our podcast. We're going to start transitioning into draft podcast stuff. So yeah, we're definitely going to be getting into that. A lot of great content is going to be coming to you in January and moving forward in 2024. So yeah, even though we're done in 2023, most likely, still a lot of great content. And like we said earlier in the episode, make sure you're following us on all our social media handles. You got us on Twitter, me at UrbanDesign23, Tad at TadDesign94, the show handle at The Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So even though we may not be dropping any episodes next week, for all of you that are going to make the fantasy title, the fantasy championship, we will be dropping some graphics to help you out and, of course, interact with us on our social media handles in case you need some hyper-personalized advice to really make sure that you can come away with the fantasy title or, just like Tad, avoid that fantasy punishment. So 100% hit us up. 100% hit us up. We are here to help you out with your fantasy leagues, get you some fantasy titles, and of course, avoid those fantasy punishments. So check those social media handles for all of our graphics next week when it comes to start sits and waiver wires, as well as our underdog picks, our great partners at Underdog Fantasy. So we'll have those picks as well in graphic form. But guys, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, because even though we're going to be gone next week, like Tad said, and like I said too, it's like we may have an episode in 2023, but the only way you'll find out about that is you got to subscribe to our podcast as well as the YouTube videos. So make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can listen right on the LAFB Network website as well. Ton of options for you. Hit that subscribe button. Same thing with our YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button. Always up to date with our YouTube videos as well. But guys, please make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network. They're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Chargers and the Rams, as well as the college level when it comes to the Trojans and the Bruins at the college level as well. So lots of great content from them. Make sure you're supporting them, because without them, there would be no us at all. So guys, there's a lot of great content. I mean, we appreciate everybody who's interacting with us, who's, reading the articles that we had a long time ago. We don't do any articles now, but just like listening to the podcast, watching our videos, interacting with us on social media. But guys, anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast, we really can't thank you enough.
And like Amir said, any person who reaches out to us on social media, we take very seriously. I can prove it because yesterday was my last day of school before winter break. So I got home from work. I was relaxing on the couch like, this is nice. No work. My phone buzzes and Amir goes, I'm driving home. Respond to the fan. I'm like, oh, God damn it. And I looked and I'm like, okay. And what do? I hop right to it. I start doing research on this guy's question. I respond back of like, I didn't respond back in a very clear way. Luckily, you clarified that for him. Yes. But, but that's the whole thing is we tag team this is, I gave him good advice. It seems like Amir agreed with said advice. And you know what? But our priority was we got to respond to this guy as soon as possible. I don't care if I'm home for the holidays, where I'm at, we will respond to you. So, we care about our fans because, we always say without LAFB, there would be no us. Without you guys, there would be no us. So
very true.
You know what, everyone, thank you so much for the years and years of support. We have come way further than, I'll be honest, than I ever thought. I always get a little sappy during the New Year. So as always, thank you so much for supporting us, everyone. Thank you so much, Underdog, and all of our our current sponsor, all of our past sponsors that I can't name, but still thank you. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays from Mur, from me. I don't think I've ever done this on the podcast, but also happy holidays from Cap. Nice. Well, he won't look at the camera, but Cap says happy holidays, everyone. So please Enjoy your time off. We will be back in a couple of weeks, whether it's 2023 or 2024. We'll be back in full force, giving you the best advice, whether it be draft, fantasy, or otherwise. So as always, everyone, thank you and stay safe.